Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of No Frontiers Japan. My name is Luke and today we have a special episode. Today we're going to be reacting to episode 1 of One Piece's live action on Netflix that just came out. And that episode 1 is called Romance Dawn. If you're a die-hard anime fan and you're looking for hidden Easter eggs and the detailed analysis of One Piece and the connection between the live action, this might not be the video for you because right now all I'm doing is for the general One Piece fan, I'm providing my immediate raw reaction to the live action that we just saw. And I haven't done research into everyone's names. Like you, I'm going to get to know the actors a lot more over time. This recap will be relatively chronological, but it's just going to be my unfiltered thoughts. So I'm just going to bounce around and I'm just going to say as I think. If you're like me and you saw Attack on Titan or Shingeki no Kyojin, that live action 2-part movie that they made several years back, if you're still scarred from that, then you can probably understand why I, and I'm sure many other people, are quite nervous about One Piece. But it's One Piece. In terms of the opening scene, honestly, Log Town looked amazing. It was so good. I couldn't believe it. The visuals were absolutely stunning and spectacular. I really didn't expect that. And when we came to Gold Roger's execution, well, okay, for the small amount he had to do, Gold Roger, I thought the acting, his attitude was perfect. However, I think this is going to become an issue with the live action is Gold Roger or some of the main characters, especially the bad guys, the stature of those bad guys, and especially some of the main characters, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to kind of recapture that aura and their presence. I really felt like the presence of Gold Roger was a little bit lacking. He just seemed like a regular guy. But once again, I thought the acting was spot on, so that was great. Yeah, Gold Roger's laugh was awesome, captivating. Then we come to Luffy's introduction. Honestly, he probably has one of the most difficult acting jobs you could possibly imagine. The weight of expectations that must be on his shoulders is totally incredible. And I think he's probably going to be one of the characters that's probably going to take the most getting used to. I think a lot of things that he did right off the bat are great. But yeah, doing Monkey D. Luffy is just an incredible tough task. When it comes to Luffy, if you've only seen the anime, or you've actually read all the manga, doesn't matter, 10, 100 episodes, 1,000. With Luffy, there's a few key characteristics that really stand out. Number 1, smiling all the time. Just kind of this carefree attitude and just always grinning about anything. Doesn't matter how negative the situation is, he's like almost always grinning. Check, on point with that. The carefree attitude and just being, I don't know if it's bravery. It's definitely bravery, but it's maybe a lack of recognition of a dangerous situation. That's also something that's very present in Luffy, and I think I feel that. I feel that with his body type. I'm sure there's a million actors that would be great for the role, but just because they don't have the body type, that kind of slender, lanky build, perfect for him. See, if you remove the face, you put an anime face on him, it really looks like Luffy. The one thing I would say, just the one complaint I have right now, as amazing of a job as he's done in the first episode, so we're early days, but the one thing that just, when I think about Luffy, just in my mind, it's this cluelessness. It's going to take a while for me to kind of get used to the differences. Almost like borderline dumb. He'll just be like, huh? Luffy, when he makes his pirate crew, he realizes all the things that he doesn't have, he needs people to do those, to fill those roles. He needs like a navigator that we were introduced to. Nami, he wants her to be on his crew. He needs that skill. He needs a good fighter, of course, with him. He identifies Zoro in this episode. There's other characters that we'll be meeting in the future, but I feel like he also knows what he's not good at, so he needs people to help him do those things, because he doesn't even want to think about it. Strategy, none of that. That's not Luffy. So he's very clueless, and he really needs the help of people. He's very different from kind of any leader that you could possibly imagine, especially someone who literally just said he wants to be the Pirate King. So, I think I need to see him be a little bit more just totally clueless. But of course, when it comes to Luffy, I recognize this is a live action. My expectations were so low, and already a lot of those expectations have been greatly surpassed. I'm just going to keep a very open mind. Oh, I almost forgot. Newsku, the bird that delivers the newspaper, incredibly cute. The Newsku is a big reason of how people get information. They don't have the internet in this world. So these birds that fly around and actually deliver newspapers, I was kind of curious how it was going to be. It's a little bit different from the anime, but yeah, the Newsku is incredibly cute. So I'm really happy with that. So yeah, next up we're introduced to Alvida and her pirate crew. I have a little bit to say about that, but just one really, really nice detail is Alvida is this feminine pirate captain, but she sees herself as quite feminine, even though she doesn't really have the personality or the body to match that, at least at this point in time. You'll see what we're talking about later. But one really, really nice detail is I like when they're attacking that smaller vessel, the cannonballs had these like pink sparks. I thought that was a really, really nice detail, really thought out. So for Alvida herself, wow. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, Alvida, the actress is great, but Alvida needs to be like 3 times, 4 times as ugly and 3 or 4 times as big. She's supposed to be just this terrifying blob of a scary person who is the only person who doesn't see herself as that. I had a little bit of a hard time buying into Alvida, but what I did like is just how absolutely savage she is. In One Piece, okay, there's this thing, if you followed most of One Piece, you get very frustrated sometimes because you feel like no one ever dies, especially the bad guys. Sometimes good guys die, but they don't really show it. The bad guys, they're like invincible. Finally, after a long fight, they've defeated them. You know they're probably going to come back in the future, which gets very, very annoying. But right now, the live action, maybe because they have a short amount of time, they just can't keep bringing people back. But they really set the tone. Alvida crushing people, you see the blood. That's very different from regular One Piece that we know. They don't show that stuff, especially early One Piece. It's almost like a kind of a kid's anime that they portray. So yeah, seeing brutal Alvida, yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm okay with that. Then we're introduced to Shanks for the first time. Well, not the first time. The first time we actually saw younger Shanks was during Gold Roger's execution. If you caught that, they showed a lot of actually main characters at that point. But we see older Shanks with his pirate crew. It looked pretty good. I actually thought Shanks looked pretty good. His hat, the straw hat you see at that point, it seems a little bit small. The casting looked pretty good. And I really like that they show Luffy. He's really already idolizing Shanks and he wants to be like him. He wants to be a pirate, the little child Luffy. And he actually cuts himself to give himself a scar because he wants to be like him. And that's a nice touch because in the manga, that's something that Luffy does early on, but they never show it in the anime, actually. They don't really explain that part. So Luffy cutting himself, it really shows that they're drawing material both from the anime and scenes from the anime, but also, of course, from the manga, which is the source material. Okay, one other thing I really need to talk about very quickly is in One Piece, if you're not used to watching a lot of anime, you notice that people are crying all the time, like a lot of characters. I'm pretty sure out of the first maybe 300-400 episodes of the anime, probably 90% of the episodes, 95% of the episodes, somebody's crying. And so I wondered, when it comes to the live action, are they going to show characters crying as often as they do in the anime? Like having big mouths and crying a lot, characters, everything is exaggerated. Everything is so exaggerated in an anime. And so all the crying, I really wonder if it would translate it. And it hasn't, because Kobe cries a lot when Luffy first meets him. But in this point, even when they're trying to escape, not once did Kobe cry. He's looking scared, and I really like the actor. I do like how Luffy throws Kobe under the bus when it comes to the escape plan. And he tells Alvida what Kobe actually said about her, which is actually very funny because that's actually in the anime as well. So then we have Zoro's introduction scene. That's quite different from the anime. You actually see him first when he's in captivity in Morgan's base. So seeing it with Baroque works at the same time, which we don't learn about till later on, is quite different. I guess they just need to expedite or speed up the story. So introducing later elements early on is quite important because right now everything's just happening. Bang, 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 bang. Now, as for Zoro's character, Makenyu Arata, he honestly does a very good job. I mean, it's so hard to live up to the character of Zoro, but I mean, just one thing I want someone who's Japanese. He's, I think, half Japanese, so check. Badass sword skills, check. No smiling. No smiling is a big thing. Zoro is very, very serious. And number 4, I'm going to jump ahead for this point, but number 4, super strong. Low-key, big strength. And you see that when he actually picks up the safe. Zoro just like picks up the safe like it's nothing. With Zoro, you see him, especially in the anime many times, training all the time and lifting incredibly unrealistically heavy things. So I like that they actually added that right in the very first episode. Next up, we have the very famous scene at the bar where Shanks is drinking with his crew and then the mountain bandit comes. Now, before that, it was actually very, very nice because we hear Binks Sake, which is a very famous pirate song that One Piece has. It's super catchy. And so this song, you can actually hear it in the background, which was just, I was just like, Binks Sake. I'm so excited to hear that because you're going to hear it a lot. later on. So that was really nice. And then, of course, the Mountain Bandit, if I remember, he's like pouring alcohol on Shanks. He has no idea who Shanks is. If you're not familiar with the story, you don't know who Shanks is yet. And so just the insulting that's being done to him was really underplayed in this scene. I wish they did that a little bit more. Then we meet Nami. Now, okay, so with Nami, it's always going to be difficult. I think maybe Emily Rudd's a good choice for actress. She does feel a little bit old, but I'm sure I'll forget about that as we go on. What I really like is just right off the bat, even though the introduction of Nami is different from the original story, there's a lot of stuff they have to cut out. She comes earlier in the story too than we typically would see her. But one thing I really like is they really establish what her character is all about. She hates pirates, she loves to steal from them, and, well, she likes to steal from everybody. She's manipulating people. She's kind of a lone wolf when it comes to this, or we could say a lone cat. That's Nami's character, and I think they hit the nail on the head when it came to her personality right off the bat. I found it interesting how those pirates were able to kick open those padlocks with their feet. You know, steel padlocks. Interesting. So now we've got the bar scene. And, well, I must say, so far my favorite character has been Helmeppo. Acting, perfect. Casting, perfect. The design of that character is so good. I thought Helmeppo, of everyone we've seen so far, was bang on. Now, of course, he's got a lower bar to meet, but still so good. I'm glad we got to see a lot of Helmeppo. That was fantastic. The bar scene where we meet Helmeppo, you've got Nami, you've got Zoro, you've got Luffy. That scene, I can understand why they've created that scene. I kind of don't like how that's when Luffy finds out about Zoro, because it's actually Koby who tells Luffy about Zoro, and then Luffy decides, I need this guy because he sounds so badass. I need this guy, this pirate hunter on my crew. So Luffy doesn't actually decide because he's seen him fight. He just hears a story about him, and because Luffy's naturally so trusting, he's just like, that sounds like a great guy, I'm going to recruit him. Okay, so we're introduced to Axe Hand Morgan. Now this guy is a real bad guy. And I do have a little bit of a problem with the casting. I don't have a problem with the actor himself, but the big issue is just physically, he just doesn't fit that presence that Axe Hand Morgan has and needs to have, I feel. You could literally get anybody. The acting is not important. You could get anybody. Get like a huge, giant bodybuilder, put a scary mask on him, and that'd be a great Morgan. I feel like he's just too small and he just doesn't scare me. In the real story, Morgan kills. Like, he actually kills his own guys. He is hated and feared. When Luffy actually leaves, they actually come to the dock and they salute Luffy. Even though he's a pirate, the Marines, they actually come and salute him. Yeah, Morgan wasn't scary enough. Also, another thing with Morgan, and I feel they missed out on, the axe looked really cool, but in the anime, the Morgan, he has this like huge protrusion sticking out of his elbow right here. And it's almost like an axe was physically driven through his forearm and it's sticking through the skin and stretching the skin out. That's how he actually looks in the anime. So I definitely feel like there was some kind of missed opportunity to create this really scary guy. I feel like it was just some dude. And then, yes, we get another Helmeppo scene. He's in front of the mirror. He's pretending to be all cool with Zoro's sword. He's swinging it around. And then it pans out and it turns out he's naked. That was really funny. It's a little bit weird that Helmeppo's so jacked. He shouldn't be. He should be like this scrawny, just kind of daddy's boy, even though his father's abusive to him. He just kind of uses the authority of his father's position to bully other people. But anyways, I still like that. The actor is so good. Next up, quick point. I don't want to forget. Morgan's office, amazing. Those huge portraits of Morgan on the wall, those are really good. That was a really nice. And seeing the Denden Mushi, just very briefly seeing that on the desk was actually really exciting. I'm sure if you're an anime fan or a One Piece fan in particular, you've been wondering, when are they going to introduce the Denden Mushi and what is it actually going to look like? Okay, so we've come to my first real big problem with this first episode. Okay, I'm very happy. I'm going to be very clear. I'm very happy with what they released, but for me, when I'm watching this live action, I'm expecting not perfection. I'm not expecting a perfect recreation. I'm expecting a reimagination of One Piece that's true to its roots. And One Piece is such a long story, spanning over 1,000 episodes, both anime and manga. For me, always there's these iconic moments in One Piece that stand out. You probably know what they are if you're familiar with One Piece, because obviously no spoilers. So the scene that I really feel that was missed out on was when Luffy frees Zoro from Morgan's compound when Zoro's tied up. Zoro agrees to join Luffy's crew because he has no choice, because he's going to be executed. And so when the Marines see that Luffy is freeing Zoro, what they do is they shoot at Luffy, and Luffy actually stands in front of Zoro to save his life and absorbs all the bullets and fires them back. And then the Marines charge with their swords, and Zoro behind his back blocks them all. And this is like a really cool moment. You see Luffy using his rubber power, and you see Zoro using his swords. And you see, wow, that's like a really cool combination. We didn't get that moment. We just got a kind of a chaotic fight scene. Okay, my first impression of Garp is a little bit, Garp is a very impulsive person, and he laughs a lot. There's a reason for that, for his personality. So we'll see if that's adjusted, but I don't want to give away any spoilers. But we saw the Denden Mushi, and you could see it's actually clearly his like custom. It's like his own cell phone kind of. And the reason is it has that mustache, which shows that it's his. I really like that. The Denden Mushi, the snail telephone, looks really, really cool. And then our final scene, we get introduced to Buggy. I'm not going to say anything about it, but he looks fantastic. So if you enjoyed this raw reaction, I'll do one for the next episode. I'm not sure, later today, tomorrow, something as soon as I get to it. Yeah, no editing, no nothing, just these are my thoughts, so I hope you can relate to them if you're kind of in the same boat that I am, where you're a fan of One Piece and you're just watching it for the first time, no rewatch, nothing like that. Just watch, boom, here are my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon, right here on No Frontiers.